Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. We started last week with the introduction of the Bhagavad Gita given by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Before starting every lecture, every time, we should recite these pranam mantras as an invocation. We did read those last time, so we will just recite them every time here onwards. If you have Bhagavad Gita, you can follow. They are given in the very beginning of introduction. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpataro Vayascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamham Vande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Hare Krishna. Welcome to our second session of reading Bhagavad Gita as it is by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We started reading introduction part and we are I don't know if we have the same Bhagavad Gita. I have a very small Bhagavad Gita with me. We are going to start reading from the paragraph that starts, Lord Krishna descends specifically to re-establish the real purpose of life when man forgets that purpose. In my Bhagavad Gita, it's around on the 8th page. So if you can find it, try to keep a bookmark every day. Every time we end reading, try to keep a bookmark so we don't have to go and find it again. So we started reading introduction where Srila Prabhupada is explaining that Bhagavad Gita has a purpose and there is only one way to understand Bhagavad Gita, the way Arjun understood it. And what is that? How it is established, how it is explained by Lord Krishna gives in a briefly in this introduction. We'll start reading from this paragraph. Lord Krishna descends specifically to re-establish the real purpose of life when man forgets that purpose. Even then, out of many human beings who awaken, there may be one who actually enters the spirit of understanding his position. And for him, this Bhagavad Gita is spoken. It's actually given in the 10th chapter by Lord Krishna himself that among many men, very few are interested in understanding the purpose of life. And those who are interested in understanding purpose of life very few understand Lord Krishna. So Prabhupada starts here by saying we have forgotten it, and Lord Krishna is speaking Bhagavad Gita for us to remember again. So Arjun was also in the same position. Actually, we are all followed by the tiger of nuisance. But the Lord is very merciful upon living entities, especially human beings. To this end, he spoke the Bhagavad Gita, making his friend Arjun his student. Being an associate of Lord Krishna, Arjun was above all ignorance, but Arjun was put into ignorance on the battlefield of Kurukshetra just to question Lord Krishna about the problems of life, so that the Lord could explain them for the benefit of future generations of human beings and chalk out the plan of life. Then man could act accordingly and perfect the mission of human life. So what this means is there is a solution to every problem that we may or are facing in our life. And once we read Bhagavad Gita, we should chalk out the plan of life. We should know the aim of life, purpose of life, and we should have a plan also to achieve that purpose of life. Hopefully that happens. The subject of Bhagavad Gita entails the comprehension of 5 basic truths. First of all, the science of God is explained, and then the constitution position of the living entities, jivas. There is Ishvara, which means controller, and there are jivas, the living entities, which are controlled. So 5 things we have to learn from Bhagavad Gita. One of them is us, jivas, and the Ishvara, the controller. Jivas are controlled. These are 2. 3 more Srila Prabhupada will explain. If a living entity says that he is not controlled but that he is free, then he is insane. The living being is controlled in every respect, at least in his conditioned life. So in the Bhagavad Gita, the subject matter deals with Ishvar, the supreme controller, and the jivas, the controlled living entities. Prakriti, number 3, Prakriti, the material nature, and time, number 4, the duration of existence of the whole universe or the manifestation of material nature, and number 5, karma, the activity, are also discussed. And how these 5 are related to each other, how they act together, that is explained in Bhagavad Gita. The cosmic manifestation is full of different activities. All living entities are engaged in different activities. From Bhagavad Gita, we must learn what God is, what the living entities are, what Prakriti is, what the cosmic manifestation is, and how it is controlled by time, and what the activities of the living entities are. Out of these 5 basic subject matters in Bhagavad Gita, it is established that the Supreme Godhead, or Krishna, or Brahman, or Supreme Controller, or Paramatma, you may use whatever name you like, is the greatest of all. The living beings are in quality like the Supreme Controller. For instance, the Lord has control over the universal affairs, over material nature, etc., as will be explained in the later chapters of Bhagavad Gita. Material nature is not independent. She is acting under the direction of the Supreme Lord. So we are going to understand these 5 concepts. Jiva means us, living entities. Ishvara means controller, the Supreme Being. Prakriti means material nature. Why we are put into this material nature, who is controlling us. Time, which dictates every activity we do, which are called karma. So Prabhupada is slowly explaining here. Out of these 5, Ishvara or Paramatma or Supreme Controller or Brahman, whatever you may want to call him, is the Supreme Controller. He controls all the other four. Especially material nature is not independent. She is acting under the direction of the Supreme Lord. As Lord Krishna says, Prakriti is working under my direction. When we see wonderful things happening in cosmic nature, we should know that behind this cosmic manifestation there is a controller. Nothing could be manifested without being controlled. It is childish not to consider the controller. For instance, a child may think that an automobile is quite wonderful to be able to run without a horse or other animal pulling it. But a sane man knows the nature of the automobile's engineering arrangement. He always knows that behind the machinery there is a man, a driver. Similarly, the Supreme Lord is a driver under whose direction everything is working. Now, the jivas or the living entities have been accepted by the Lord, as we will note in the later chapters, as his part and parcels. So we are he is the whole and we are his part and parcel. In Marathi or Hindi it's called Amsha. A particle of gold is also gold. A drop of water from the ocean is also salty. And similarly, we the living entities, being part and parcel of the Supreme Controller Ishvara or Bhagavan, Lord Sri Krishna, have all the qualities of the Supreme Lord in minute quantity, because we are minute Ishvaras, subordinate Ishvaras. We are trying to control nature as presently we are trying to control space or planets. And this tendency to control is there because it is in Krishna. But although we have a tendency to lord it over the material nature, we should know that we are not the Supreme Controller. This is explained in Bhagavad-gita. So why Prabhupada is giving such a beautiful introduction, isn't it? This is the main problem we have. And this is the purpose we descended from the spiritual sky down here in this material world, because we want to be the controller. And that's why we are trying to lord it over the material nature. We are trying to make it ours. We are trying to control it so that we can become just like Krishna, the Supreme Controller. But we can never be the Supreme Controller, and that is explained in Bhagavad-gita. And if we understand this basic point, then it's very easy for us to understand what is spiritualism, what is Bhagavad-gita, what is dharma, what is our purpose, everything. This is where we missed everything. Next, what is material nature? This is also explained in Gita as inferior Prakriti, inferior nature. The living entity is explained as the superior Prakriti. Prakriti is always under control, whether inferior or superior. Prakriti is female, as she is controlled by the Lord, as the activities of a wife are controlled by the husband. Now these are the Sanskrit words, all Sanskrit words, they have a meaning. Purusha, Purusha means the enjoyer. And Prakriti or Stri means one who is enjoyed. So in that sense, we are all feminine Stri actually. We are all called Prakriti. In Hindi or Marathi or in most Indian languages, Prakriti means this nature. And that's what this word is primarily used. But in a broader sense, for Lord Krishna to be Purusha, to enjoyer, what he enjoys, everything is called Prakriti. But in a general sense, this nature is called Prakriti, is this Brahmanda, this system of planets, what we call solar system, or in Vedic system it is called Brahmanda. This is all called Prakriti. And this Prakriti, Lord Krishna refers in Bhagavad-gita as inferior Prakriti, inferior nature. Not in the sense that this is very low quality or something like that. Inferior in the sense this is designed for the jivas to try to enjoy their propensity to become supreme, and while doing that, they are actually punished here. They are not supposed to be in this material nature, in this material Prakriti. In that sense, this is inferior. We, the Jivas, are also Prakriti, but we are superior Prakriti. We are part and parcel of Krishna. And there is another Prakriti that is called spiritual sky or spiritual world, that is called superior Prakriti. And Jiva has a tendency to either remain in that superior Prakriti or follow his kama vasana, and come here in the material nature, which is inferior Prakriti. These are all explained in Bhagavad-gita. Prakriti is always subordinate. So main point here Prabhupada is trying to explain is the third topic of discussion in Bhagavad-gita is Prakriti, and that is also she is a feminine. Prakriti is often referred as feminine in nature, and she is controlled by the supreme controller, just like the jivas are controlled. She is subordinate, predominated by the Lord, who is the predominator. The living entities and the material nature are both predominated, controlled by the Supreme Lord. According to the Gita, the living entities, although parts and parcel of the Supreme Lord, are to be considered Prakriti. This is clearly mentioned in the 7th chapter, 5th verse of Bhagavad Gita. Aparayam itastva anyam. This Prakriti is my lower nature. Prakritim vidyame param Jiva bhutam mahabaho yayedam dharyate jagat. And beyond this there is another Prakriti, Jiva bhutam, the living entity. Now, even if you don't understand anything from this, don't worry. This is just an introduction. This will be discussed in great detail in later chapters. Prakriti itself is constituted by three qualities: the mode of goodness, the mode of passion, and the mode of ignorance, often remembered as Sattvagun, Rajagun, and Tamagun. Above these modes there is eternal time, and by a combination of these modes of nature and under the control and purview of eternal time, there are activities which are called karma. These activities are being carried out from time immemorial, and we are suffering or enjoying the fruits of our activities. So this is the main concept of Bhagavad-gita. None of this can be changed except these activities, karma. And the way we perform our activities under the control of time and the three modes of material nature, they dictate whether we enjoy or we suffer. And goal of life should be, we should never suffer. So the equation given in Bhagavad Gita is, for that you have to change your karma. And how to change that karma and what should be our karma so that we will never suffer, that logic is explained in Bhagavad Gita. These activities are being carried out from time immemorial, and we are suffering or enjoying the fruits of our activities. For instance, suppose I am a businessman and have worked very hard with intelligence and have amassed a great bank balance, then I am an enjoyer. But then say I have lost all my money in business, then I am a sufferer. Similarly, in every field of life, we enjoy the results of our work or we suffer the results. This is called karma. Ishwar, the Supreme Lord, Jiva, the living entity, Prakriti, the nature, eternal time, and karma, activities, are all explained in the Bhagavad Gita. Out of these five, the Lord, the living entities, material nature, and time are eternal. Like I was explaining, out of these five, these four are eternal, unchangeable. You cannot change these four. The manifestation of Prakriti may be temporary, but it is not false. Some philosophers say that the manifestation of material nature is false, But according to the philosophy of Bhagavad-gita, or according to the philosophy of the Vaishnavas, it is not so. The manifestation of the world is not accepted as false. It is accepted as real but temporary. It is likened unto a cloud which moves across the sky, or the coming of a rainy season which nourishes grains. As soon as the rainy season is over and as soon as the cloud goes away, all the crops which were nourished by the rain dry up. Similarly, the material manifestation takes place at a certain interval, stays for a while and then disappears. Such are the workings of Prakriti. But this cycle is working eternally. Therefore, Prakriti is eternal. It is not false. The Lord refers to this as my Prakriti. This material nature is separated energy of the Supreme Lord, and similarly the living entities are also the energy of the Supreme Lord, but they are not separated. They are eternally related. Even now, when we forget the Lord, we have completely forgotten the Lord. Lord has not forgotten about us. He is always with us. But this material nature is separated energy of Krishna. This small paragraph I just read, where Srila Prabhupada explains that this material nature is also eternal, although it is destroyed one day by Lord Shiva and then again recreated by Vishnu and Brahmaji, and again destroyed, but this cycle is eternal. It's temporarily created, destroyed, temporarily created, and in this sense it is always eternal. It's non-changeable. Just like Ishvara, Jiva and time, they are non-changeable. So the Lord, the living entity, material nature and time are all interrelated and are all eternal. However, the other item, karma, is not eternal. The effects of karma may be very old indeed. We are suffering or enjoying the results of our activities from time immemorial. But we can change the results of our karma or our activity. And this change depends on the perfection of our knowledge. We are engaged in various activities. Undoubtedly, we do not know what sort of activities we should adopt to gain relief from the actions and reactions of all these activities. But this is also explained in the Bhagavad-gita. We actually don't know. Perpetually, time immemorial means we don't know when we started this birth and death cycle and how many karma we have accumulated and how much fruits of this karma we are enjoying and suffering. It's been happening from, we cannot even calculate actually. It's very difficult to calculate also. In one of the verses in 3rd chapter, Lord Krishna says, Gahana karma gati. Very difficult to understand where we go because of which karma. But what kind of karma or activities should be performed so we get rid of this suffering completely? That is explained in Bhagavad-gita. So, the position of Ishwar is that of supreme consciousness. The jiva or the living entities, being parts and parcel of the Supreme Lord, are also conscious. Both the living entity and material nature are explained as Prakriti, the energy of the Supreme Lord. But one of two, the jiva, is conscious, the other Prakriti is not conscious. That is the difference. Therefore, the jiva Prakriti is called superior because the jiva has consciousness which is similar to the Lord's, and the Lord's is supreme consciousness. However, and one should not claim that the jiva, the living entity, is also supremely conscious. Slowly we'll understand this. The Lord is conscious, that's why we are conscious. The Lord is eternal, that's why we are eternal. But the difference being, We are minutely conscious, Lord is supremely conscious. We are dependent on the Lord. There is wonderful verse from one of the Puranas, Srila Prabhupada often quotes for this, Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam. The living being cannot be supremely conscious at any stage of his perfection, and that the theory that he can be so is misleading theory. And this is what we have to learn from Bhagavad-gita. We can never be supremely conscious at any stage of our perfection. Conscious he may be, but he is not perfectly or supremely conscious. The distinction between the Jiva and the Ishvar will be explained in the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. The Lord is Kshetragya, conscious, as is the living being, but the living being is conscious of his particular body, whereas the Lord is conscious of all bodies. Because he lives in the heart of every living being, he is conscious of psychic movements of that particular jivas. We should not forget this. It's a little bit technical. This consciousness, why we cannot be supremely conscious, is explained here. We are conscious about our body because we live in this body. Lord Krishna says, I live in everybody's body. So I am conscious of everyone. Not individually. All the Paramatmas sitting in our heart, they are connected. Lord is one. So he knows about what's going on in my body as well as he knows what's going on your body. And in that way, he is supremely conscious, but we are limitedly conscious. And Prabhupada says we should not forget this. This is the main difference. It is also explained that the Paramatma, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is living in everyone's heart as Ishvara, as the controller. And that he is giving directions for the living entity to act as he desires. The living entity forgets what to do. First of all, he makes a determination to act in a certain way, and then he is entangled in the acts and reactions of his own karma. After giving up one type of body, he enters another type of body as we put on and take off our old clothes. As the soul thus migrates, he suffers the actions and reactions of his past activities. These activities can be changed when the living being is in the mode of goodness, in saintly, and understands what sort of activities he should adopt. If he does so, then all the actions and reactions of his past activities can be changed. Consequently, karma is not eternal. Therefore, we stated that of the 5 items, Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, time and karma, 4 are eternal, whereas karma is not eternal. The Supreme Conscious Ishvara is similar to the living entity in this way. Both the consciousness of the Lord and that of the living entity are transcendental. It is not that consciousness is generated by the association of matter. That is a mistaken idea. The theory that consciousness develops under the certain circumstances of material combination is not accepted in Bhagavad-gita. Consciousness may be pervertedly reflected by the covering of material circumstances, just as light reflected through a colored glass may appear to be of a certain color. But the consciousness of the Lord is not materially affected. Lord Krishna says, Maya Dhakshena Prakriti. When he descends into the material nature, material universe, his consciousness is not materially affected. If he were so affected, he would be unfit to speak on transcendental matters as he does in the Bhagavad Gita. I'm trying to read a little bit faster, okay? Because all these conceptions are described at a great length in later chapters of Bhagavad Gita. So even if you don't understand what's being stated in this introduction, that's okay. So Prabhupada gives an idea that, what is karma, and karma can be changed, and karma needs to be changed, otherwise we will keep suffering in this material world. And then, so as that to happen, we need to understand the nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he's trying to explain that he's conscious, we are also conscious, but there is a huge difference between his consciousness and our consciousness. Our consciousness gets polluted, affected by the three modes of material nature as soon as we enter in this material nature. We act as if we are this body, temporarily trying to enjoy in this material world, and by doing so we suffer. But Lord Krishna, whenever he enters into this material world, his consciousness never gets affected, because his consciousness is very pure, supremely pure. One difference that is already explained is that his consciousness is supreme, he knows everything about everyone. Our consciousness is limited, we know only about this body, only about us, what's going on in our mind, our brain. And the another difference is our consciousness gets polluted when we enter in this material world. Whenever we see sense objects, beautiful car or beautiful girl, handsome boy, our consciousness gets polluted. We try to own it, control it, and enjoy it, and by doing so we suffer. But Lord Krishna, his consciousness never gets polluted. Can you hear me on Google Meet, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu, yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. So, our consciousness at the present moment, however, is materially contaminated. The Bhagavad-gita teaches that we have to purify this materially contaminated consciousness. In pure consciousness, our actions will be dovetailed to the will of Ishvara, and that will make us happy. So this word Ishvara means controller. So in one of the famous verses of Bhagavad-gita, Lord Krishna says, I am sitting in everyone's heart as Ishvara. Ishvara sarva bhutanam riddheshi arjun tishtati, which means actually you are not in control of anything. Everything is controlled by Krishna. But when you try to oppose this, try to go against this, you fail and you suffer. So that is what is called contaminated consciousness. In a pure consciousness, however, the way this Ishvara is dictating us to do things, we do exactly those things. That is called pure consciousness. And this is logically explained later in later chapters of Bhagavad-gita. And Prabhupada says, and that will make us happy. And then you will never suffer. And everybody wants to be happy. So Bhagavad-gita is a book where your goal of life should be happiness, and Bhagavad-gita explains exactly how that happiness you can achieve. It's a misconception amongst people that Bhagavad-gita is some form of spiritual book, and as soon as you start reading, you have to forget about all the worldly happiness, and you have to become a vairagi, you have to become ascetic. It's not like that. Your goal of your life, the purpose of your life must be to attain happiness. Bhagavad-gita just tells you exactly how to achieve that happiness, attain that happiness. Prabhupada says here, and that will make us happy. It is not that we have to cease all activities. Rather, our activities are to be purified. And purified activities are called bhakti. Activities in bhakti appear to be like ordinary activities, but they are not contaminated. An ignorant person may see that a devotee is acting or working like an ordinary man, but such a person with a poor fund of knowledge does not know that the activities of the devotee or the Lord are not contaminated by impure consciousness or matter. They are transcendental to the three modes of material nature. We should know, however, that at this point our consciousness is contaminated. Now again, why it is said that they are transcendental to the three modes of material nature. When they are not transcendental, they are always controlled by these three modes of material nature. All our activities are controlled by these three modes of material nature. Very interesting concept. In the 5th chapter, Lord Krishna says, neither you are doing your activities, nor your body is doing your activities, neither I am forcing you to do any of these activities. It is all done under the three modes of material nature. So these three modes of material nature, they affect what we do. Of course, it depends on what we desire to do. So our desires, ichcha, when it gets contaminated, the three modes of material nature, they are adjusted in order to fulfill your desire and also punish you for wrong desires. And to get out of this, we should work in such a way that our work is not at all controlled by these three modes of material nature. So how do we do that? Spiritualism or bhakti does not mean we should stop working. That's a totally stupid, bogus concept actually. It appears like that because most of the pseudo devotees or bogus sadhus, they cease all their activities and they try to live their life on someone else's money who is working hard. But bhakti does not mean stop working. Bhakti means you have to work. But that work should be done in such a way that it is not at all controlled by the three modes of material nature. So there is no fruit of that action. And that is what we have to learn in Bhagavad-gita. It's not like we have to stop working. It's a very wrong concept people have. Whenever you go to distribute Bhagavad-gita, people often are afraid to even touch Bhagavad-gita. You know, parents are so afraid if my son reads Bhagavad-gita, he will leave home. Bhagavad-gita is spoken by Lord Krishna exactly to do opposite of that. You should never leave home. Or your, wherever your world is. You have to change your work. And in most cases, you don't even have to change your work. You just have to purify your work the way it is put here. Which means you just have to change the intention behind that work, which is called bhavana, Krishna bhavana. And this is the logic, this is the secret we have to learn from Bhagavad-gita. We should know, however, that at this point our consciousness is contaminated. When we are materially contaminated, we are called conditioned. It's a very important word. This word comes repeatedly. In Prabhupada loves to use this word, and it's a very nice word. When we are materially contaminated, we are called conditioned. This word is often used in engineering, condition. You get some material or something and you condition it for some purpose. You heat it, you reshape it. So you have a raw iron, you heat it, you press it, you hammer it, and you make a screw out of it. So like that, we are conditioned with these material desires. Yeah. And that's how we are contaminated. Contaminated means now we are conditioned in such a way, even if we understand that the purpose, what we are doing, everything is wrong, it's very difficult for us to change everything. Now, after so many days of working hard, hammering, when we shape that iron piece as a screw, and we understand all of a sudden, oh, that's the wrong purpose. It's contaminated. We should have made a nail out of it. We have to recondition whole thing. So try to understand. We are conditioned means for many births, our consciousness has developed in such a way that all we think about is enjoying this material nature, which gives us pain and suffering. But we still want to do it because we are conditioned to do it. And that is what we need to reverse, fix it. False consciousness is exhibited under the impression that I am a product of material nature. This is a very strong conditioning. The piece of iron now itself is thinking that I am the screwdriver. He's not even thinking that I'm iron, I can be changed into something else. He said, no, I am the screw. Like that, we are thinking that we are this body. So such a strong conditioning. False consciousness is exhibited under the impression that I am a product of material nature. No, you are not product. Your body is product of material nature. You are not. But we think we are product of material nature. This is called false ego. Thinking I am this body, I am Varma, Sharma, I am so and so, Das, I am man, I am woman, I am Indian, I am Hindu. All these labels that we put on this body, this is called false ego. Many people don't understand why it is called false ego, because there is a true ego also. True ego we will learn as we go through Bhagavad-gita. There is no way you can say that I am no one. You cannot be made zero. They are called Mayavadis, Shunyavadis. No, you have an ego, but that's a good one, true one. And that is, I am a servant of Krishna. That's a true ego. So from this false ego, I am this body, I am so and so person, so many hundreds of different labels we put, positions, that we have to give up and come to this true ego. So under the conditioned state of life, we think that we are product of material nature, and this is called false ego. One who is absorbed in the thought of bodily conceptions cannot understand his situation. But this word is also often used in Bhagavad-gita, bodily conception of life. Bodily conception of life means thinking we are body. And it can be very subtle, it can be very specific. I am so and so. Or it can be, I'm not concerned about myself, my body, but the byproducts of my body, my wife, my kids, my house. This is all bodily conception of life, because they're all related to your body. Once you leave this body, they're not related to you. So this whole, my society, my nation, everything is bodily conception of life. And why we think like that? Because of conditioning. Yeah. So one who is absorbed in the thoughts of bodily conception cannot understand this situation. The Bhagavad-gita was spoken to liberate one from the bodily conception of life. And Arjuna put himself in this position in order to receive this information from the Lord. So Arjuna is acting like he is conditioned, he is in bodily conception of life, so that he gets the instructions, and through him we get the instructions, and we also free ourselves from this bodily conception of life. One must become free from the bodily conception of life. That is the preliminary activity for the transcendentalists. That's where the spiritualism starts. Whichever form, whichever path you choose. First, basic 101. First step is understand you are not this body. And anything related to this body, people, matter, anything, that doesn't belong to you. Very important. Prabhupada says preliminary activity for the transcendentalists. One who wants to become free, who wants to be liberated, must first of all learn that he is not this material body. Mukti, or liberation, means freedom from material consciousness. freedom from material consciousness. But mukti or liberation, these words will come very often as we read. So try to understand what these means. Mukti means mukti, liberation. Liberation from what? From suffering. When people understand that in this world there is nothing but suffering, there is no way you can avoid suffering in this material world, they start looking out for liberation, mukti. Free from suffering. It's very simple definition. But Bhagavad Gita explains you that mukti or liberation means freedom from material consciousness. So until and unless you become free from material consciousness, that I am not this body, I am not the father of this person, I am not son of this person, I am not wife, I am not engineer, I am not doctor, I am not Hindu, I am not Indian, all these are material conceptions, material consciousness. Once you get free of this, then your real mukti or liberation starts. Don't worry, we will understand step by step how it is being done, how logically it is explained by Lord Krishna. In the Srimad Bhagavatam also, the definition of liberation is given. Mukti means liberation from the contaminated consciousness of this material world and situation in pure consciousness. You have to give up this contaminated consciousness, this conditioning, and situate yourself in pure consciousness. In Sanskrit, it is called Swarupena Vyavasthitihi. Swarup means original position. You have forgotten, you have been conditioned from many births. Now you have to go to the original position, which is pure consciousness. All the instructions of Bhagavad Gita are intended to awaken this pure consciousness. And therefore, we find at the last stage of Gita's instructions that Krishna is asking Arjuna whether he is now in purified consciousness or not. So after after giving all the instructions, in the last chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna asks Arjuna, are you in pure consciousness now? All your Brahma, all your illusion is destroyed or not? Are you still illusioned? Yeah. When you are not in pure consciousness, you are illusioned. You think this material things, material people, they belong to you. That is illusion. And therefore, we find at the last stage of Gita's instruction that Krishna is asking Arjuna whether he is now in purified consciousness. Purified consciousness means acting in accordance with the instructions of the Lord, because he is the controller. This is the whole sum and substance of purified consciousness. Consciousness is already there because we are part and parcel of the Lord. But for us, there is the affinity of being affected by the inferior modes. Consciousness is there, but our consciousness is affected by this material nature. Whenever we see beautiful things, rasgulla, gulab jamun, our consciousness gets affected. We get illusioned. But the Lord, being the Supreme, is never affected. His consciousness is pure. And when we purify our consciousness, we become eligible for liberation. Liberation from the suffering. That is the difference between the Supreme Lord and the conditioned souls. Now, I gave a little bit hint about what is consciousness, what is contaminated consciousness. That is explained in the next paragraph. We will stop here and give 5 minutes for any discussions if we have. One important thing to understand in all this thing is, why do all this endeavor? Why read Bhagavad Gita? Why try to understand Bhagavad Gita? Why attend these lectures? Why attend these classes? What is the purpose? Are we trying to achieve some literary accomplishment reading Bhagavad Gita. And there are people, some people do that, Bhakti Shastri and all these kind of things. No, the as explained later in the Bhagavad Gita, the main impetus should be that we should understand that we are suffering in this material world. Someone who doesn't understand and someone who doesn't agree that we are suffering in this material world, he is not the right candidate to even read Bhagavad Gita. As you can see from last few paragraphs we are reading, why do all this? Why go through all this endeavor? We have to understand that we are suffering in this material world and we are not in control of that. However learned, however rich, however powerful we may be, there are certain things in this material world, they affect us in wrong way and we do suffer. And there is no way we can stop that suffering. And Bhagavad Gita explains the main suffering that we have in this material world is birth, death, disease and old age. Nobody can avoid these four sufferings. At least we should understand this. And on top of that, we are all suffering from so many different directions, isn't it? Now, that being said, it's not like that only when you are done with suffering and you are completely exhausted all your intelligence and abilities to check, combat those sufferings, and we finally take shelter of Bhagavad Gita, try to understand how to stop this suffering. That's okay, Lord Krishna says. But just like, when a so and so, when we understand that if we steal these things, we may be punished. So we don't steal that thing. So you don't have to suffer to understand that there is suffering, and then you come to read Bhagavad Gita. You can see from others' suffering, and you can understand from other people's suffering that there is no way we can stop this suffering. So an intelligent person takes up reading and understanding Bhagavad Gita even before that, even before he himself goes through all that suffering. But our goal should be like directed by this, otherwise we will not understand. Lord Krishna says 4 kind of people, they come to me, they come to understand Bhagavad Gita. One of them is this artha, someone who is suffering. The other one is artharthi, he wants something, material, profit, gain. The next one is jidgyasu. He wants to understand what is all this thing going on, what is nature, who am I, why am I put in this nature, why am I tall, why am I small, why am I black, why am I man. So he's called jidgyasu. He's curious. And the 4th one is jnani. He understands everything. So he surrenders to Krishna. So just wanted to put out there, because we are reading so many things and so many terms, technical terms. Don't get confused. We will go through them very in detail as we read the Bhagavad Gita chapter by chapter. Hare Krishna. Any questions, concerns, discussions?
Yeah, we can also use this, if there are no specific questions, we can also use this time if someone wants to share anything which is related to today's discussion, reading, so that it's a little interactive, not just the person is speaking and then close our phone and walk away.
Yeah, what we call it as a realizations. Okay.
Yeah, but the production is really nice. It's good in the beginning to get a good overview. But also, as we are reading, even after finishing the whole Bhagavad Gita, it is also nice to come back to production. Really ties up everything together nicely.
Yeah. I have this small 1972 Bhagavad Gita, it's like pocket size. I was just counting how much is left from the introduction. It's still 10 pages are there, which means 20 pages, both sides. So we'll try to cover it fast. That's why we have both Saturdays and Sundays. So tomorrow also we'll meet at the same time, 4:30. I'll send a Google Calendar invite so you can save it into your calendars. It will give you a reminder.
Okay, Prabhupada.
Okay, thank you very much. Vancha kalpataro bhayascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Ananta koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Vaishnav Thakur Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Bhagavad Gita Jashi hai tashi ki. All glories to Bhagavad Gita as it is. Hare Krishna Dandavat Pranam.